We're live. Hey, Lana. Caught
Hey,
you
how are
caught
you?
in the middle of dinner, huh?
Yeah, just kind of, some keto friendly.
Staying healthy. It looks like my pantry. I do the same stuff. So,
It's not for taste; it's for fuel. It's
yeah,
not-
that's exactly. It's funny. I had that conversation with somebody the other day. Is that eating for me is just putting something in my stomach so I'm not hungry anymore,
Exactly.
and it takes me the same amount of time to eat a salad as it would a hamburger.
Right.
So I might as well just go with the salad because it's just going to make me healthier and
And it's gonna make you feel better.
100%.
Literally, no shade to hamburgers, but
Well, I don't deprive myself of good food every once in a while, the hamburger every once in a while here or there. But I see people who've done it. They just eat it every day. And it's just like, I don't know how you
you
do
don't
that.
know the difference until when you stop and then go back. So, like, my journey was like I stopped meat, went to vegetarian. And then I would kind of go back. But then if I ate something too heavy or like because I cut out like a lot of the sugars, like I would get headaches, like I would
Yeah.
feel like lethargic, like what is right? Like I can't eat that. And I just don't eat it.
Yeah.
Vegan. I don't eat none of it.
Yep. I mean, it is. It's a huge difference maker on
It
how it
is.
makes you feel. But
It does.
I'm not sure we're here
We're
for
giving health
dietary
tips.
lessons. And you know what? But anytime you can do it. Normally, by the way, you would see my curtains behind me
I know we look
closed.
like we're like almost kind of coordinated a little
That
bit
we
there.
do. Now I have mine open because
Yeah.
if you read the news now, a hurricane is
Ooh, that's
barreling towards
right.
Florida right now, and it is a little rainy out where I live. It's supposed to cross I live in the central or north central part of the state of Florida, and we're definitely going to see some remnants from it. I don't know if we're going to get directly hit by it. It doesn't look like we will.
Uh-huh.
But we're going to get probably 30-mile-per-hour winds by tomorrow morning. But it has been raining. Last night it was raining, and I heard a
Wow.
boom last night. I actually thought we were getting bombed. It was so loud.
Now, do you get flooding or not near the?
Well, luckily, we're kind of in the middle of the state, but
Mhm.
we do get flooding. There's parts of the city that I live in that will be flooded for sure if we get enough rain.
Right.
In fact, there's a neighborhood that a couple of my friends live in that it gets really bad flooded.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there's something wrong with the drainage system or whatever it is there, but it does get pretty bad. But yeah, we have a hurricane coming our way. I was kind of keeping
Wow.
my fingers crossed because about 30 minutes before we got on here, it was pouring. I mean, it was really getting bad, and it's just stopped. So that's kind of weird. The
That's
hurricane bands, they kind of
right.
come and
Right.
go in the beginning.
Do you have a
So
generator?
I don't know. I've I've lived in this town now for 20 years, and we've had some hurricanes blow through, and I've been lucky enough to where we've only lost power, I think maybe a total of 3 days
Mm-hmm.
out of the 20 years that I've lived here.
Wow. Wow.
Now, of course, I don't live in the places where if you live in the coast, so I grew up in the Daytona Beach area,
Mm-hmm.
and Daytona Beach will get bombed. I mean, badly when it comes, towards the East Coast. This time it's coming towards the West Coast, which is Tampa area and stuff like that, maybe going up more through in the middle of the Panhandle.
Right.
But it's on its way, and obviously, like all hurricanes, everybody stay safe
Right.
and
Right.
they're definitely no joke because they definitely cause a lot of damage. I am wearing my Miami Hurricanes shirt in honor of the hurricane coming. So,
Hey, we gotta be good to the weather. It comes through. Let it do what it do. It's just like what we just do what you do. I'm just gonna sit back here and let you listen. Well, from Alabama, and
yeah,
just bad storms there too. The hurricanes, the tornadoes, the electrical storms.
yep,
Listen, my mom was those storms were so bad. People like in the north don't really understand storms. She would be like, if a storm was coming through, turn off all the lights. Stop playing. Don't make any noise. I don't really understand what
I think
any
if
of
that's a
that.
burglar is coming through, that might be
Right, I didn't
good advice.
understand what any of it was, but it was like we really just had to be in a corner somewhere with the lights off and just being quiet. It's almost like she thought like us being noisy would like
The
make
storm won't see you. Yeah, they'll just go right
us.
past you. Did it
I
work?
mean, she was probably traumatized too from like those storms, and it's probably something passed down in the South. It's just like,
Correct.
yeah, just be quiet, let
Yeah.
God do His work.
Right, exactly. That's probably what it was. So
Mother
did
Nature.
that actually work though? Did it go right past you? No problem.
As a kid, I don't know what was going
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
It
You
was
said,
just-
yeah, all right, mom, whatever you say.
right,
So
exactly.
so there's certainly, as always, a lot to talk about, and we're going to stay here in the state of Florida first. As you may or may not know, there was another mass shooting in the Jacksonville area, which is about 90 minutes away from where I live. And it was another mass shooting that involved a young idiot who decided he didn't like black people, and he was going to go. Initially, he went to a black college to probably do whatever damage he was going to do there. It was Edward Waters University, and luckily, a security guard or somebody saw him and turned him away. I'm not really sure what stopped him from doing the rampage and maybe shooting and thankfully he didn't. But
Right.
again, it still went to another place to where he did do damage to, more families for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I mean, I certainly have opinions on this, but Lana, I'm sure you've heard about it. I'm sure you have some things you want to say about it. And, what are your thoughts? I mean, I'm sure I know what your thoughts are, but
Yeah. I'm probably gonna go backwards, and you're probably gonna get where I'm like, because we already know the beginning, why it who did it. We know what he did. We know that he was expressly looking for the black people because he hated the blacks, but the why, and that's the thing that people want to, well, not everybody, but like the people like Ron DeSantis, because it did happen in Florida, wants to hide the part of like, you're part of the problem. Because when I think we talked about this in one of our shows, it's like when the lawmakers, when the people at the top, when the people that you hold, to high levels are the ones that are spewing hate. Not that the hate wasn't here before, it's always been here, but now they're co-signing the hate. Like your racism that you had and you were just muttering it to yourself. But when you have like the Ron DeSantis's, you have the Donald Trumps, like you have the Marjorie Taylor Greens, like it's like these people got your back when you do this stuff. So it makes you more tempted to like act out on that behavior because you're being co-signed by the highest of the high.
Correct. And it's one of those things, because I remember a lot when something would happen like a mass shooting, you'd hear, especially one political side, they'd blame music artists for it. They would blame, all kinds of different people because of the violence, maybe in video games or in videos, music videos, stuff like that. But there's a clear, like you said, cosign on, and it's not even, obviously they're not coming out and saying, we support Nazis, but not demonizing them and not calling them out constantly. Because in the state of Florida here, I'm sure you've seen it because it's national news, but in the state of Florida, there's many times you can drive down the street and see all these Nazis on the sideline or on the side of the road with their flags and, racist stuff. They're putting things above, when you go to a highway overpass, you can see the signs, the Nazi signs up there. And the fact that Ron DeSantis has been asked about it, it should be pretty simple. I mean, if you're really truly not co-signing this and you're not a racist and you're not on the side of all this garbage, it should be pretty simple to go, guys, like when I see you flying my DeSantis flags, you do not represent me. You absolutely, you are not with me. I am not with you. Words and language like that just do not seem to happen from any of these people. Trump was directly asked in a debate to denounce the Proud Boys, and he said to stand back and stand by.
Right. I mean, he had dinner with
it was Nick
Fuentes, right?
Yeah.
He had them working in his administration. He had Sebastian Gorka.
Yep.
Like,
and just another, and when they're called out on it, it's just another one of those things where like, oh, I never knew who he was. I had no idea. But then that's your opportunity to go, I wish I would have known who he was, because I would have never invited that guy. That guy's a scumbag. That guy's terrible. That guy, but there was none of that. It was just like, I didn't know who he was. It's not my fault.
Right.
Yeah.
And back to DeSantis, if that was BLM with signs up there, holding signs with Obama, a flag with Obama on there, DeSantis would have a heart. Like, DeSantis passed a bill about protesting, right? Like, come on.
DeSantis also targeted Black people when there was voting discrepancies, or there was a law saying that, I think it was if you were out of jail, they would target Black people who voted and have them arrested on the spot. And DeSantis has made it quite clear he's attacked the Black community. He's attacked the LGBTQ community, trans people, immigrants, women. Right. He's attacked them, whether it was a direct attack or the innuendo attack that we have discussed before on this show. Right. He's done it. And you're right. What you said earlier is that kind of language, and is that kind of dog whistle that you hear all the time, that sparks these idiots to think that they're doing God's work, DeSantis's work.
Is it even a dog whistle anymore, though, Brian?
No.
They're telling you, if you're saying African American studies do not lack value,
right,
you are saying that whatever the Blacks were doing, we don't care, right? You're devaluing us.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying, I'm going to defund diversity and inclusion, that means you don't care. Like, again, you're saying you're the other. Who cares? Slavery, who cares if that happened? You learn some skills. Like, he has devalued us. Woke. We know what woke is. Woke came from the Scarborough 9. Those boys. Lead Belly sung it, stay woke when you're moving through Alabama, right? That was a rallying call for Black people to stay on guard because they're out here lynching us, right? So then DeSantis co-ops it, and the MAGAs co-opt it, and now because he's anti-woke, he's anti-Black. He's not a dog whistle. He knows what he's doing. And so does everyone else, right? And you've chosen a side. Like, you're going to be on the side of racism and then try to act like you don't know what he's doing. Like, well, that's not what he's doing. You're whatever our kids, what's the word? Indoctrinating our kids with this wokeism. What is woke? I don't know, but you're indoctrinating our kids with it. Like,
that's the funny thing, is most people can't even answer the question what woke is. Other maybe than people who understand history, people in the Black community, people who understand the Black community. But it's Ron DeSantis attacks things like critical race theory, and he's putting an end to it in grades kindergarten through 12, but it was never in grades kindergarten through 12. So again, it's another innuendo that you're attacking something, making it look like you're doing something to save the children from this critical race theory that just doesn't even exist in the schools that
but they're doing a good job because there's a plan, right? It's not like they're not doing this in a vacuum. It's not like a haphazard, we're fighting woke. No, it was just like with Roe. They did it and they had a plan, and it was years and years, and they waited patiently until they got it. And it's the same thing now. This is a plan that they're doing. This is a plan so that America falls asleep again, and we
Mhm.
don't understand that there's systemic racism, that there's systemic oppression. Like they want to turn the tables around because you can hear the language of like, you know, non-black people and non-people of color who don't really understand, who really have already been, had some grievances, but so now they think the world is oppressing them.
Mhm.
And on top of it, now we have Donald Trump with a whole mugshot. So
Mhm.
the world is really attacking the white folks right now. DeSantis
Yep.
said he's getting rid of the Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, because what he's going to do is investigate the crimes that black people commit against white people, because that is racism. They're trying to erase it and just redirect it, because that's another form of systemic oppression, right? So
Mhm.
that it's like they're gonna re-oppress us
Yes.
by faking oppressing them. Like it's so crazy.
Yeah, there was just recently he had fired a state attorney here in the state of Florida, Monique Worrell, I believe her name is, and basically it was under the premise that she wasn't doing enough to combat crime. She was a black woman, so I think that's important in this discussion to note. Again, if there was no reason to invoke that fact, we wouldn't do it. But based on everything that we're saying, I think that's important. And it also turns out that she was very close to investigating a police officer or a whole group of policemen who were doing illegal things, and the next thing you know, she's out of a job because she wasn't doing her job. And
Imagine that.
yeah, and again, it's that authoritarianism sort of mentality that this whole MAGA movement wants to have for this country. It is, and again, they're out there complaining and whining that their political opponents are attacking Donald Trump and people like them because they, just want it their way. But it's exactly what the Republicans are doing. They are attacking, and they're doing it on such a much smaller scale. It's not on a national scale where you see it every day.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't know about the state attorney in Florida. Everybody
Right.
doesn't know about the illegal gerrymandering that goes on in black districts all across the country. They don't know this. So
Right.
all they hear and they think about are the little things that they see on Facebook or whatever it is, the national news that gets in their head. And we've talked about this before, there's a powerful, to me, the most powerful media in this country is the conservative propaganda machine that has really ruined the brains of a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. It really has.
Yeah.
It really, oh my. And the American people should be suing them because they just made a group of people just stupid, like just really stupid.
You got to be careful when you sue them, though, because it all depends on who the judge is for that whole thing. Because there was another state attorney in Tampa. Same thing happened to him, and he sued and said, "I was duly elected. You cannot fire me." And it's the same thing. They're like, "Well, beat us at the polls. Don't beat us in the." But they're removing people before another election.
Right.
And so they're basically hypocritical on their own stance about beating us in the polls.
Yeah.
Even though what's happening with Donald Trump has nothing. And people would look at us like we're crazy. It's got nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with the fact that Donald Trump broke the fucking law, period.
Right. Like he broke the law. Who cares if he's a Democrat or it's like Republicans and their followers are so like, well, Republicans defund the police only if they go after anyone who's a Republican. We have to defund them. Or if they go after the Democrats or black people, but they automatically assume every black is a Democrat, which some just are not in any political bubble. But then what do you mean you want to defund the police? Like, it's such a ridiculous, the hypocrisy. why can't they see it? It's baffling to me.
I
Or they
no,
do
I
see
think
it. They
they
just want
well,
to win.
yeah, that's what it is. And I think they see it, but they understand the language that they need to use in order to try to do their best to win you know, the trial of public opinion, and that's basically what it is. But what I was saying is, the gentleman that was fired in the Tampa area, he went to a federal court to try to appeal this, and the federal judge agreed with him, but basically said it's a state problem. It's not my problem. And it turned out it was a Trump appointed judge that made that final ruling. But anyway, it all goes back to the innuendos, the language that's being used, or the language that's not being used to condemn these groups that really do have something to do with this terrible the terrible things that keep happening, here with the race. I mean, we're just 15 months away. It was 15 months ago. Same thing happened in a grocery store in Buffalo, up in New York. And again, this came during the Donald Trump administration. The Department of Justice said the biggest threat to the United States right now are white nationalist groups. That's not, James, or that's not a Democrats that were saying it. That was the Department of Justice from Donald Trump.
Right.
So
they're happy about it. They're happy about it. They don't care. They don't care if a Democratic lawmaker is shot and killed. They don't care.
Yeah.
They are just trash at this point. Like, I don't even know who these elected officials are. It's just really, it's disgusting.
And what you just said, maybe some people might say it sounds sensationalist, but it really doesn't, because I truly believe that if a prominent Democrat was shot and killed, you would have people definitely secretly celebrating it. And because some of these people are crazy, they would publicly celebrate it using their stupid innuendos and all that stuff, just like they were celebrating Nancy Pelosi's husband getting beaten up with a hammer.
That's how we know. That is exactly how we know. We're not saying all of them, right? Not the Mitch McConnells, whatever's going on with him. Not the older cats. They're not going to do it. But these new Fandango, Bobarts, and of course, Gaetz,
Matt Gaetz, he's a Florida guy. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all these people. I mean, and then of course you have the side.
If something happened to AOC,
they
would
question
not care. They would celebrate and say that is what she deserved.
If they caught Nancy Pelosi on January 6th, they would celebrate like that was one of the greatest days. Like that was a big move for the Confederacy, basically, is how they would celebrate that. But I want to give this young lady, she's a congresswoman from District 13 in Jacksonville. Her name is Angela Nixon. She had some things to say about Ron DeSantis in his press conference. So here's a little clip of what Ron DeSantis had to say, and then Ms. Nixon's response.
And its people condemn the horrific racially motivated murders perpetrated by a deranged scumbag in Jacksonville at the Dollar General store. Perpetrating violence of this kind is unacceptable.
This is Ron DeSantis's chance to be presidential. He's thinking, okay, I get to stand in front of a podium on a national stage. I'm going to use words like scumbag to show everybody that I'm really not racist, that I'm really on the side of these black people who are booing me. So I'm really going to hit them with a word like scumbag, but it comes across to me almost like the people who probably have some underlying things about them that may be gay or something, and they really start using the F word for gay people, and they use it, over the top to almost protect their true feelings. It kind of gives me the same vibe.
And targeting people due to their race has no place in the state of Florida.
What do you make of that condemnation?
What I make of that condemnation is hollow statements. This is a governor who has done nothing but fan fan these types of happenings throughout our state. Look, at the end of the day, the governor has blood on his hands. He has had an all-out attack on the Black community. With his anti-woke policies, which we know very well was nothing more than a dog whistle to get folks up and riled up in the way in which it just happened on yesterday. As I listened to him for the first time with that statement, my blood is literally boiling. Myself and other representatives, particularly Black representatives, throughout the past few legislative sessions, we have repeatedly told him what his rhetoric was going to do. And that is exactly what transpired on yesterday. This is absurd. It's ridiculous. He is one of the causes to this. This is an agenda that he has been pushing since he has gotten into office. He showed us who he was when he initially ran for governor, saying, don't monkey this around, don't monkey this up. Those type of statements, it only leads to things like this.
So she said a lot of the things that we had already said, and, whether it's repetitive or not, it's just the sentiment that is, a lot of people feel this way. And I think when you have a group of people that feel this way, and it's, it seems prevalent with a lot of people, there's a good case that what we are thinking is not wrong.
Right. I don't even know what to say. It's just, oh my God. Like,
yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I don't even know, because it's just like, it's just disgusting. It's like they say these things because they know the hurt and the pain it's going to cause, but they want it. And it's like, it's just the vileness of it all. And I said to someone the other day, I'm like, they don't give a fuck about Black people because they watch Sandy Hook. They watch their own white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired babies get slaughtered. And if they can sit back and watch that happen and still collect money from the NRA and fight to keep assault rifles legal, and Ron DeSantis laxing gun laws, what the hell they care about Black people getting shot up? Why would they care? Or Jewish people? They don't fucking care about that. Like, it's nothing. And we don't do anything until we vote. Like, nothing will happen. You can't make someone care about you who doesn't care. We can scream it. And I guess what we're doing is not screaming it to change Republican minds. We're screaming it to let people know how important this is. Like, the people who are not involved or just kind of passing by or not paying attention or think it doesn't impact them, that could have been your sister that was driving the Uber or the Lyft that just got there, or like somebody who's working at the dollar store just for some spare money. Like,
yeah, I mean, dare I say, stay woke, on this, and, stay aware, and make people aware. That's why, it is important to continue to say this kind of stuff, because it's just, and the sad thing is, Lana, like you said, I mean, it happened with children. The day Sandy Hook happened, and literally since that day, almost nothing has been done about guns.
mm-hmm.
It is a huge statement that maybe they just really don't care. Maybe they don't care. I mean, do they care if it happened to one of their children, or do they not? I mean, it's mind numbing, to me, to you, and to everybody else that, at least has a side. And we're not talking about not just Democrats feel this way. There are plenty of people on the Republican side who do feel a way about AR-15s and guns and the safety of their own children. And, I mean, the polls say it. We've talked about polls again on the show many times, and it's not 100%, but I truly do believe that you have a good 65, 70+% of people thinking we really do need more gun laws in this country that are at least comprehensible and make sense. Like, somebody with mental health issues like this gentleman who I don't care what his name is. He had mental health issues, should not be, he purchased that gun legally.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He sure did. And there's no background check because he wasn't committed or something. So it's not like it's all a mess. It's just all a mess and nobody needs it. Like I keep going, like, what the fuck does someone who's like 20 and 21, what do you do? Just go bring it into your bedroom and like have it in the corner of your room, or is it just lying under your bed? What the fuck is, like, what is that? There's no training. You just get it. So you don't even know like how to store your bullets, where to put it. Like, I don't know how anyone lives in those states. Like that's, of course it could happen in any state, but like just to see someone walking around with that kind of weapon would terrify me. Or like you don't know who's doing good or bad. Like you don't know. How do you know?
Well, the gun community seems to think they know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. So I don't know how that works. And I don't know if they get together with each other and one bad guy calls up and says, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm going to be out on the town. So,
maybe if you wear all black, you're a bad guy.
Right. Yeah.
That's like, okay, wait, golf. I think that's a shooter. That's what they look like. But like, what?
Yeah. It's very bizarre. But I want to stay on this topic, but we're going to segue from this topic into something else. But Vivek Ramaswamy has been making a lot of news, and he had an opinion about this case in particular. And the opinion is the reason why this happened is because of wokeism and because what's the case that where black people get into schools and they
here's the quote. He said it's because of affirmative action.
Affirmative action. Yeah, it's basically because of affirmative action is the reason why things like this happen, because we're giving people of different races, we're giving them privileges over people of the white race, and it's really making the white people mad. So it's this kind of rhetoric and this kind of horrific system that is causing stuff like this. Do you have any opinions whatsoever on Vivek Ramaswamy's comments?
I have a comment on Vivek. Vivek sucks. Like he's just the worst of the worst, right? He's like, I know I'm not going to be president, but I damn sure am going to get that HUD position that Ben Carson had. Like it's just disgusting. And what's even more disgusting for someone like Vivek and Nikki Haley, but Vivek, because he's really saying these things outward. You're a member of the brown community, and the nerve of you knowing that your goddamn parents got to this country on the back of the civil rights movement. How did the immigrants get here? It's because Black people and allies, blood, sweat, tears, lynching after lynching, brutality after brutality. That's how his parents get to walk across and become American. Yeah. That's why he's able to run for president, because of the civil rights. And then here he is talking about, it's because Black people are speaking out against injustices, causing injustice against us.
Yeah. Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy, I've started getting to the conclusion now that unless you decide or he does or says something so incredible that you have to cover it, I have really no desire to continue to cover this guy, because he's a sideshow clown.
Yeah,
he's not serious. He's kind of like this tech bro, probably trying to impress his old college buddies and just saying, watch me run for president, watch me say all this stuff.
Just like that.
And this is exactly why I told you before why I can't stand our media sometimes, because
Yeah.
I mean, you see this guy on one show, literally you change the channel, he's on the next show. You change the channel, he's on the next show. And all these clowns, they're like, oh, we got to have Vivek on. He's going to say something wild and he's going to say something that we can put out there. To me, that is just such garbage for this country.
Yeah.
And he now is the hot guy that everybody's going to have on their shows. And he's just going to say something more outrageous and he's going to do it on purpose and he's going to sucker people into having him on their shows.
Yeah, he was on Andrea Mitchell.
Yeah.
And you know Andrea Mitchell has lost a few steps, right?
Yeah.
I like Andrea Mitchell. She had a good run of it. She's not as quick and as fast as she used to be. Doesn't say I'm not saying she's stupid. She's very intelligent. She knows what she's talking. Foreign stuff. That's when she gets real quick.
Yeah.
But like Vivek was just like, he's a misogynist and he out talks and he's rude and talking over.
Yeah.
So he was allowed, because he's got Andrea, to spew this conspiracy theory and the lies after the lies about, more people die. This is what he said. More people die from the cold than they do from the hot. And that's why we need more the coal industry. And you know what I mean? Because people are dying from the cold.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on an outrageous comment tour that, again, he just wants to get. He's obviously not going to be president. And at first, I was kind of thinking to myself, well, maybe what he's trying to do is he's trying to set himself up for 2028. I personally believe that he is such a clown now that he's even kind of just playing himself out of this. I don't think he even cares whether or not he's
rich, right?
Right. He's loaded. And apparently it's another one. You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of one of those guys that would start the Fire Festival. Do you remember the Fire Festival? Okay. So it was this huge thing that all these people, when you see on Instagram, they're on their private jets and they're going to go to this big festival. And it's a lot of young people, hot people, and they're all going to go to this big festival that has music and everything. Well, it turned out to be this huge scam. And everybody got there.
Oh, what's his name?
Yes.
What's his name?
Was it not Master
J,
P.
with the J.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, he sings it. What's
not Ja Rule.
Yeah, it is Ja Rule.
Is it Ja Rule? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
it was him and some of these other kind of bros, and they were going to get together. And then when they got there wasn't even hotel rooms. There was just a bunch of tents, and it was raining, and they were all wet. And there was the food that they had were just bread with bologna and cheese on it. And a lot of people fell for it. And that's what Vivek Ramaswamy is. He's somebody that a lot of the younger bros are going to fall for because they think he's cool. He talks, and when he speaks, it is clear and sounds like it's got intelligence behind it. So when you talk in that way, it's easy to fool people into thinking that he's some brilliant guy that has now come along.
Because he doesn't sound smart at all.
Not too smart people.
Yeah, he overcompensates. So it's like he sounds like a used car salesman that's trying to sell you a lemon. So he doesn't sound smart at all. He sounds like that person who talks real fast and talks over you. So you don't pay attention to the words that he's saying. Like you don't piece it together, because when you stop and you read it, you're like, this is a bunch of mumbo jumbo. He ain't even saying shit. This is like a fucking Don King type of thing. He's just saying some words. Like
it's that. It could be just like, because he fancies himself as I guess a rap fan, but it could be like one of those rap songs that sound, when you listen to you, like that song was awesome. And then you go back and look at the lyrics and go, those lyrics were stupid.
Yeah, it was the beat that you were really enjoying. It wasn't this song.
Yeah. And by the way, did you see Eminem reached out to him and said, bro.
Good. No, I'm just glad, because he performed an Eminem song before. Like, I'm like, Vivek think he's a rapper too. Did you see that one? When Vivek was rapping?
We played it on the show.
Oh, we played him rapping?
Yeah.
Oh, guys, see how much I forget where I see these things.
I remember, well, last week, you didn't even realize we were even on the show, which was awesome. We were already started. You're like, wait, did the show start?
I know.
And then we played the premiere on the show. All right, listen. I talked to Lana a lot off the air. I know she's a very busy woman. This is not me just covering for her. She's very busy. She's got a lot on her mind, a lot on her plate. She's got her own show. So they're all running together.
They do, because
Yeah.
I've seen it. I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. On her own show, the clip was on here, and she's like, "Did you see it?" I should have said no. I should have let
Right?
it keep going.
I would have explained it to you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
people watch, would have been like, "Didn't I just see this on their show last week? What's
Yeah.
wrong with her?"
Well, Eminem has told him to stop. Again, I'm gonna play this one clip here of Vivek. He is with Chuck Todd on Meet the Press, and I remember Meet the Press used to be a very, it used to be a show that you would go to if you really wanted to follow politics. I mean, it was a great show with, oh gosh, who was the host who passed away? I can't remember his name because he was phenomenal, and I'll probably remember it.
Was he kind of?
Say it again. Yes.
He was chunky, right?
Yeah.
I can see him. I just can't.
Yeah. My brother, if he's watching, text his name to me because I know he'll remember. But he that's where you would go to watch. And now there was a point where I stopped watching shows like Meet the Press. And it's funny too, and I'm gonna go back to this clip, but I used to literally every single day, I would listen to nothing but conservative radio. And I would listen to it all the time. The Sean Hannity show, the Mark Levin show, there's a guy, Will Cow, I think he was on, it's all on Sirius XM radio. David Webb, he's another guy that was on Fox News. I would actually call into a lot of those shows too. So I was on Hannity like twice, and I talked a few times because that was back then when as a Democrat, I still want to hear what the other side has to say. And I thought it was fair to at least listen to what they had to say.
Right.
And then the Trump thing started coming along, and it was hard for me to take serious anymore. So I just can't listen to it. And that's the reason why I don't watch Meet the Press. Not that Meet the Press isn't a serious show, but because it's become such a clown show and they have these clowns on, and it's difficult to really pin down somebody when nobody's answering questions.
Right. And that's the point, right? It's like you said, back in the day, Republicans they just all was on, everyone was on whatever show would just have them talk.
Yeah.
And they would talk and they would tell the truth, although sometimes it was stretched, numbers were, exaggerated a little bit here and there. But now they just lie. Like it's just we're having babies in the last term. They just wake up and have an abortion.
Right.
Like
Yeah. And sometimes it gets to a point where they don't press further on their lie, or B, where they just go down a rabbit hole where it's almost impossible to get the answer. And finally you just have to give up because you only have a certain time segment. You got to move on to something else and you want to get in all your questions. But here's Vivek Ramaswamy on what he would have done on January 6th.
Couple questions you didn't get a chance to answer at the debate. Most of the candidates on stage Wednesday night said Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. Do you agree?
I would have done it very differently. I think that there was a historic opportunity that he missed to reunite this country in that window. What I would have said is this is a moment for a true national consensus where there's two elements of what's required for a functioning democracy in America. One is secure elections, and the second is a peaceful transfer of power. When those things come into conflict, that's an opportunity for heroism. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would
I would have
you have
driven
done
it through the Senate.
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th, declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election. I think that was a missed opportunity, but that's the kind of spirit we're going to need to unite this country rather than sweeping those concerns under the rug.
This is the same guy that claims that 18 to 24-year-olds should take a civics class in order to vote. Now, by the way, did you know he never voted in his life until 2016. The first time he ever voted was for Donald Trump. So that tends
And
to
he
happen
mailed
with
and he mailed it in.
yes, correct.
Paper
And
ballot. Mm.
that tends to happen a lot with the first time Trump voters is that, again, I know why they voted for Trump. Whatever the reason is, you vote for Trump, fine. But they seem to lack a lot of, knowledge as to either why Donald Trump was a good choice for them, or like Vivek here is saying that on January 6th, he would have just kind of stopped the whole thing. And as the president of the Senate, he would have changed all the rules and he would have put Donald Trump back in office, is essentially what he just said.
Like, it didn't even make any sense. And I would have just served it up to the president to sign.
Yeah. And by the way, that's how you reunite the country. So basically, a president was nominated and won the election, but he's saying his plan to unite the country would be to overturn that election and give it to Donald Trump. Now, let's keep one thing straight here, is that the election, so a lot of them are saying irregularities during the election, and they're correct. There were irregularities. And the reason why there were irregularities, and it's a language that they use, the word irregularity is correct because COVID changed the rules for how you're going to vote. So it was irregular. It wasn't the regular way that we went through our voting system. However, and I wish this would be said more, every single person before the election happened, every state, every single congressperson, whoever it was, there were no objections. They knew the new rules going into this election. So now after they lost, they're going, well, it was irregular. We can't have this. So, it's.
Well, here's the thing too, though, Brian. So all throughout, I don't know, the history, Republicans voted by mail, right? Isn't that just something Republicans just did in
Correct.
general?
Donald Trump himself voted by mail.
Right. That's just what they always did. But then once, COVID happened, then Democrats are like, oh.
Correct.
Black people of color, yeah. Oh, we can do this by mail? We didn't know this. Nobody's been shipped. No one shopped that to us. We didn't even know that was a thing because it was just like something white folks were doing.
Right,
We just didn't know for real.
Yeah.
Seriously. And so now they're like crying foul, like, oh no, we can't have this voting by mail thing because there's too many of those people doing it. So we need to change the rules again. It's just like,
yeah. And now they're changing the rules again. So now they figured out there's the Black community that said we can vote by mail. So now they're voting by mail. So they're changing laws in each of these states. This is why we talked about the Voting Rights Act and stuff like this that needs to be passed, is they're making it not, I don't want to say harder, but they're making it more confusing. So if your date of birth isn't written in a certain place on the envelope, your ballot can be tossed out. And I am not 100% saying this is happening. And us, we're not conspiracy theorists, but sometimes maybe you can look at a name and go, throwing that one out. Because,
no, it's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. Right. And that's probably what they would do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
So again, this is well, how about this? How far are we into this thing? We're 48 minutes and 58 seconds. We barely have talked about Donald Trump, which is, I think, sort of a victory. But I think we got to move on to him a little bit here because the Donald, as people call him, his court date has been set for his role in the January 6th insurrection attack onto the Capitol. It was set for March 4th, a schedule that could have a crucial impact on the 2024 race. The White House, and I know this is a lot of the things that they're crying foul about, is that it's the day before Super Tuesday. and during the middle of a presidential campaign, and Judge Chutkan had made the comment that Trump will have to prioritize the trial and that she would not change the trial schedule based on another defendant's professional obligations, for example, professional athlete. So if an athlete was charged with murder, charged with rape, charged with beating somebody, if he was playing in the Super Bowl 2 weeks later and it just happened that the trial was a couple days before the Super, too bad.
Right. We don't get that. We get
Correct.
a scheduling order. Like we literally get what's the scheduling order? It is what it is. The only things that change on that scheduling order is like when the discovery may be due, you may have to file some motions and you need extension, but that trial date typically doesn't change. And if it changes, that means that, sometimes getting closer to it, it can get, rescheduled. Not, rescheduled like 2 years later.
Yeah,
or
right.
even a year later. You're talking about maybe a month or so. Like, come on.
Yeah, Chutkan basically, she didn't laugh off the proposal to have the trial in 2026, but she, of course, said that is ridiculous. From the Trump standpoint, his lawyer said that going to trial next year would violate Trump's rights, noting the millions of pages of discovery material that prosecutors have turned over. Trump's lawyer, John Lauro, said this is a request for a show trial, not a speedy trial. Mr. Trump is not above the law, but he's not below the law either, which, you're right. But as the judge had said that, this case in theory has been going on for quite some time, and you've had plenty of time to gather information. Now you have plenty of time to gather information up into March, and I am starting to feel better that we are going to see at least 2 of these trials before the election. So there was the other one wasn't the Georgia. No, not the Georgia. There was a one set in May.
Is it Bragg?
Isn't it funny? We can't. It's almost impossible to keep all these.
No, it's hard.
These trials.
It's got to be Bragg, right? Because Florida's not doing anything. I doubt it. I was thinking that the other day. I'm like, is that at a standstill? Like, what is Cannon waiting for at this point?
Well, Cannon is as we know, she's a Trump-appointed judge. And
what is her excuse? Because Jack's not gonna wait. I know he's just being patient before he files some motion to get rid of her.
Yeah,
because he really wants her to do something egregious, is what he's waiting for. Because he knows she will. He's just waiting.
Yeah. So wait, we have the New York. We have the one in Florida. We've got the one in Georgia, and we've got what was the Washington, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say one was set in May. We'll have to go back and look, but we do know a date is set for March 4th on this particular trial. And, things are starting to move forward. Now there's also, did you have anything to add before because it's kind of on the same thing.
Yeah. Keep on.
There's growing talk that Donald Trump may not even be eligible to run based on his role in January 6th. And once again, this is not growing talk.
Oh, Florida. I'm sorry.
I
didn't even know she did it.
Yeah, it was Florida.
Florida. Wow. Judge Cannon set a trial date in May?
That's right. Yes. It was set for May 4th. And I think so. I'm glad you said that because now it's starting to come back to me. So she set it for May 4th. And I think the thought process is that she wants to appear fair in the beginning. And then once May comes around, there's going to be delay after delay after delay. So she didn't want to look obvious in putting it.
So she's going to allow ridiculous extensions.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yep. So that's all it took. It took sometimes a little spark in your brain, get you to remember what the thing was. But anyway, we were talking about Donald Trump may not be eligible. And much like the witnesses in a lot of these cases, a lot of these opinions, a lot of these witnesses are coming from conservatives, that are coming from Republicans. And a growing body of conservative scholars have raised the constitutional argument that Trump's efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election make him ineligible to hold federal office ever again. The disqualification argument boils down to Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment, which says that a public official is not eligible to assume public office if they engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or had given aid or comfort to the enemies therefore of, unless they are granted amnesty by 2/3 of Congress. So do you believe that that criteria has been met?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but what does that mean? Like, he's not gonna not run. He shouldn't be running.
Well, it's not a matter of not running. So what they're talking about is that there are states that could, based on this information, they're talking about states keeping him off the ballot.
Right.
Now, of course, that's going to lead to lawsuits.
Right.
So if you have some blue states that say we're not putting him on the ballot, that leads to lawsuits. We go to the Supreme Court, which is probably inevitably going to wind up there. And then we find that out. If red states put him on the ballot, it could be sued to say that he should not be on the ballot. Again, we go through this. So what you're saying is probably right. Are they actually going to go through all this to make a point? Are they going to go through this? Because you and I have talked about this before. At the end of the day, I think Democrats, Joe Biden, all these guys are begging for Donald Trump to be the guy on the ballot.
Exactly.
They want him.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty clear. I saw there was a good tweet by George Takei, who used to be on Star Trek, a Star Trek fan. And he made a point where he said, you know, when people ask, why don't you want Joe Biden on the ballot? It's because he's old. Why don't you want Donald Trump on the ballot? It's because he's a criminal, because he's got multiple, so there's a huge difference as to why people don't want their candidate on the ballot. So when you ask, oh, America's sick of these two, they don't want, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's because Joe Biden's old. And that's what it comes down to. If you looked at what he's accomplished so far, again, please show me a president that has more accomplishments under his belt in 2 years than any other president that I've seen. I mean, again, he's not the guy that if a tragedy happens or anything like that, he's not going to be the first guy you pick. We're going to pick Obama. We're going to pick Clinton. We're going to pick, because they know how to connect to the voter. And I truly do believe Biden does too, especially when he's on his game. But one little stumble, even the most diehard of Democrat could go, oh, God, Joe. Duh.
Yeah. I mean, he looks old, right? Like Trump is only 3 years younger, but I just think Biden really looks like somebody's old grandpa. And I think that's what's throwing the folks off. Like maybe if he's fatter, more filled out, they wouldn't say it that much, but he just really looks old. But
and by the way, speaking of fatter, we have something to talk about a little later.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And Donald Trump, even though he is old, he's kooky. I mean, he might seem a little bit more, not as, what's the word?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like Donald Trump.
But he's not either. You're right.
He takes his time going downstairs.
Yeah.
He's not running anywhere. He sweats like an animal.
Yeah,
he's just more filled out. Like it just when people are more filled out, they don't look as old.
Right.
When you get thinner and gaunt, you just look older, and that's just really what it is. But then again, Donald Trump wears a ton of makeup too. Biden's not out here wearing makeup like that.
Correct. Yeah. And we might as well talk about it now. We had a bet last week on Donald Trump's weight, and we're going to say the same thing everybody else says. We're not fat shaming anybody. What we're doing is we're shaming somebody's egotistical, pathetic little brain who cannot handle the fact that he is who he is, and the world is going to see it. My guess is that you walked in there and said, you don't need to put me on a scale. My weight's 215. And they probably just said, we're not going to fucking argue with this guy. Just put down 215 so the world can laugh at him even more.
Yeah, so we had a bet. I think I bet 289
You
and
did.
Brian did 303, I believe.
I still think I was closer.
Brian is closer because I think we're both wrong because Donald Trump is probably like 315, 320
Right. Yeah.
easily. I think the reporting is that they had actually sent that paperwork out, eye color hair, to his people prior to. So he didn't even do it there. They had already sent it because it had accidentally gotten filed on the docket, that information prior to him being booked. So like that typed up information had gotten filed by accident, and then they had to pull it back down and file it with the rest of the booking information.
That I did not. Yeah, that I did not see.
I
I don't ever recall hearing the description of somebody's hair color as strawberry. But whatever.
Strawberry blonde, Clint
listen,
Eastwood type, stuff.
he can say his height. He can say his weight. By the way, Rudy Giuliani came in at, I think it was like 5'9", 5'10", and 230. He looks substantially bigger than Rudy Giuliani.
But Dwayne Wade
Right.
is 6'4" at 220 pounds.
Yep.
So how is Donald Trump 6'3" and 215?
The funny thing is that literally after that came out, there were so many comparisons to professional athletes. And by the way, I don't know if you knew, and maybe we shouldn't be talking trash about Donald Trump because he is an unbelievable athlete, according to him. He just won a big golf tournament, he said.
Oh, the one he cheated at?
But he says he couldn't have cheated. And the reason why is because Secret Service is around. They see everything. And he says, I don't know. I'm just a great golfer / athlete.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. It's pathetic. It really is sad and pathetic that he's got to go on there and just basically tell everybody, I'm this unbelievable athlete. I just won my club championship. There was a story that came out not too long ago, too, that he was in another one of his club championships and he missed the first round of the tournament. So it's a 4-round tournament. And in order to win, you have to play all 4 rounds and then add up your score, and whoever has the lowest score in golf wins. Well, he missed the first round, came and played the last 3 rounds. And then when the people came in, they saw that he was up top and they're like, well, how did he win? He said that I played the course a few days ago and I had such a great round that I'm counting that as my score.
I don't understand how these people are so enamored and need to be around him. He's not even like rich with liquid cash. Like he's just loan after like. I don't get it anymore. Like, what is it anymore? Like, okay, back in the day, but what is it now? He's just an old, shriveled, lying, cheating, 91 counts, indicted ex-president sticky finger. Like, what is it?
Well, obviously, I think the only answer is it appeals to senses that obviously do not appeal to you or I or logistical normal people. But yeah, it's pretty, I don't know. And there are reports that people say when you are one-on-one with him, when you're around, he could be charming, he could be all this stuff. But again, I think there's a lot of people who they get, I don't know if it's starstruck. I don't know if, and they just, yeah, and it's part of that thing. But I could be on an elevator with Donald Trump or be in a 1-hour meeting with him. I guarantee you I don't come out of there going, you know what, that guy's not that bad.
Right. He's charming.
Yeah. Even if he was charming for the full hour, afterwards I'd be like, I'm not falling for that bullshit.
Charming. He talks about himself every minute. This is a guy that has to win. This is a guy that he's getting fingerprinted and booked and concerned about what his weight and hair color is.
Lana, we hear him on secret recordings. And every time it's a secret recording, it's about how cool, hey, look how cool that I've got these top secret documents and look how cool I am. And you're right. It's all about him every single time. And I would just be like, oh my God, get me the fuck out of here.
And that's probably what they say behind his back. Like, fuck, why do we play golf with this motherfucker? Like, free coats? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get, maybe I get the less educated people. And again, I don't want to beat up on people who are low, just because you're, maybe you don't have the highest extent of education doesn't mean you're stupid. I know a lot of people, who never went to college or, maybe even didn't graduate high school, who are extremely bright. But the reason why they're extremely bright is because they took the time to learn, things that they may not have learned in school or in college or whatever the case is. But there is a large section of the country who does not take that time, and they're happy to. And part of it too is you're on Twitter, and I know you probably have way more interaction than I do. But if you listen to the comebacks of the people who side with Donald Trump, it's not even worth like responding to. It's just so goofy. Like I'm getting things like, "Oh, go get the shot and wear a mask, you pussy," and I'm just like, "What?"
That's
your comeback? Wear a mask and get the shot?
Yeah, I hear Democrats murdered Martin Luther King. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And
well, they also like Democrats were the ones with slaves, and the Republicans are the ones who weren't racist because they were. But speaking of Martin Luther King, I saw a post of yours and I was like, oh, I'm so glad she posted this because I wanted to bring this up that apparently Donald Trump's mugshot has now gained him a lot of credibility in the Black community. And he's gangsta. What do you think about that? Have you seen that in the community that everybody now is going, because he has a mugshot, we now all love him? Is this true, Lana?
like, come on, man. Like, so number one, people with street cred don't say it about themselves. That's just not a thing. You're like, yo, I got street cred. It's like your reputation precedes you. So the streets talk about your street cred. Like, you know what I mean? Like
they give you the street cred. Yeah, they're the ones who build it up.
Yeah, it's the streets. It's not like I just wake up, I'm like, I got that. I mean, okay, so that's the one thing. And then the second thing is that how disgusting are Republicans that they're like, oh, Donald Trump has a mugshot. Black men are going to be voting in numbers, says Charlie Kirk. We're going to get a whole nother voting block because of Donald Trump's mugshot. Black men.
Can I assume that that's extremely insulting?
Yo, what the? If you are a Black man and you vote for Donald Trump, one, if you support that, you probably ain't voting and you're not paying attention. Like you just riding some type of wave because that's some dumb bullshit. Donald Trump don't give a flying hoot about nobody. Donald Trump's executed more Black men than anybody in his term in office, and he was happy to do it.
Yeah.
Like, stop playing. Ugh.
Yeah, I see that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, they're reaching for any possible thing they can reach for.
It's so... They're just gonna use any old prop. We don't care. Like, oh my God, it's wow. They said they're saying that. That was so baffling to me. Like, oh my God, like let them get one Black person, and they have it because I've seen videos. Few Black people are like, oh my God, he's gangster, he's the boss, and they'll just keep playing it over and over because they got a Black person to say the nonsense, just like they got a Vivek. That's the new toy of the day. Like that's their play toy. Keep talking, Vivek. We love you. We love you now. And then when your diamond is sick and one of y'all motherfuckers die, we don't even know which one, diamond or silk. I have no idea. And they were Donald Trump's best friend, according to them. He's at whoever's funeral it is, diamond or silk, saying,
talking about himself.
I was looking over. I don't know her, but I know you, Diamond.
Right, exactly.
That's the guy.
Yeah. And you know what? The same people that are praising the gangsta mugshot could watch that clip and not for a second go, wait a minute, that's kind of bullshit. I, I don't know, man. And by the way, did you think the framers and the fathers of the Constitution ever thought to themselves that a guy that should be leading our country should be a guy who has 91 counts against him and that he's selling merchandise on his website? Now, of course, we know the framers probably didn't anticipate websites, but selling merchandise on his websites with the mugshot on it, wearing it as a badge of honor. Again, I'll never understand. I personally could never find myself voting for somebody that is proud to have a mugshot.
Right.
I don't care who you are. It could be a family member. It could be my favorite person in the world. I don't know. I couldn't do it.
I don't know if he's proud about it because I want to say that Donald Trump is miserable every goddamn day of his life.
Which is awesome.
He wakes up heavy. There's no way that he's okay.
I agree.
He's a great actor, but he's not okay. He's not okay with that mugshot. He's doing what he has to do. What he's doing right now is trying to survive. That is all he's doing. These grifting things, he's not happy about it. He just knows that it's a means to pay his bills. Like,
I could not agree. I mean, you put it perfect, and I don't know if I could put it any better. I mean, that you're absolutely right. That's all it is. He's a miserable person right now. He is a rat in a cage, and he's scrambling. He's miserable, and quite frankly, I love it. And I am, in the words of Tucker Carlson, I can't stand him, and I can't wait for the day where we never have to talk about this guy ever again.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, Brian. He's in his twilight years. Those are supposed to be, right? 77, 80, whatever. Those are twilight years. Those are the years where you are just supposed to just, be easy for the rest of how much time you have.
Yep.
He's waking up every day there's not a day that goes by that he is not speaking to his attorneys on one of these counts. Okay.
Absolutely no question. I mean, it is daily. It is, I'm sure, agitating. First of all, he didn't even want to talk about what was going on in this country when he was president. Forget about, indictments. But do you think, let's say Donald Trump was given one wish, but it had stipulations. And this wish was, okay, I'm going to give you a time machine right now. And the only way you can use it is if you go back to 2016, would you take the choice to lose as president and then just walk away? And my guess is now he's probably thinking, God damn, I wish Hillary would have won because none of this shit would be happening right now.
Right.
Do you think he would take it, or is his ego still too big to say?
His ego, he got a taste of it, right? So he probably would take it because he loves the power and he got a taste of that power. And the power is what got him into this trouble right now. Anyway, he couldn't stop. It's like he couldn't do a small grift. He had to do big grifts and he had to keep going. And now he's like, fuck, I got to be president again because I did too much.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know,
so knowing what he knows now, do you think he would have said, you know what, let Hillary win? So
no,
that way
I think he would just do it again because he loves the power. Yeah,
you might be right.
He just, I don't see him walking away from anything. He's just going to go straight for it and just let the chips fall as they may. He'll try to buy himself out of it. Now, but then again, these other things, he's never been held accountable.
Yeah.
So maybe now that he's feeling that kind of fire, maybe he would say, I don't like that accountability thing.
Yeah, maybe, or you know what? Well, let's give him one more chance. We'll say, okay, you don't lose to Hillary. Let's just say you just never made the decision to run.
But did Barack Obama call him out at
that? 100%. Yep.
Yeah, he's going to run.
I mean, because we can keep going back and back and back until we finally say, no, he's not going to run. But
it's like, is there any scenario in which Donald Trump would go back in time and say, no,
Yeah, yeah.
And
Right
what
before he
would be
got
the
into that
scenario?
time machine, they played that clip of Barack Obama just
Jail.
bombing him. He's like, nope, fuck that. I'm not getting
Jail would be the only thing that would make him probably change his mind if he could
Well,
go
maybe
back.
we'll give him the opportunity in about a year from now because he's looking like he's going to find himself there. I just, there is absolutely no way.
Right.
91, I shouldn't say
No
no way.
way.
I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, but we kind of can,
But
right?
you're not
All
found
we
guilty
need-
on at least two.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Out of 91,
right.
do we really think he's going to be innocent on every one of those?
Right. I mean, I guess the only fear is, do you find 4 different cases where you're going to have a hung jury on all 4 because you do have an ardent Trump
Right.
supporter that says I'm holding out no matter what? You
I
know,
don't
is
know.
there?
It's so funny. They always talk about that. Oh, sorry thing, but jury duty is so different. Even when you go in there as one way, and you do start to feel when that judge talks to you and you watch the
Yeah.
video of how important what you're doing, it kind of supersedes
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and you know what, you're right about that because, and especially too when you're in a room full of people, and even if you had some Trump supporters in there, say, listen, I love the guy too, but we have to go by the law, and you know they all start talking because I think people, anytime a case doesn't go their way, they just think the jury is stupid. You
Right.
know, the jury, you know, made the wrong, whatever it is. But I think you're right in a sense is that when you do get, was it 12 people on a jury, you know, you get them all in a room together and they are discussing the case. You know, I'm somebody I know that when I go in somewhere that I do want to take it seriously, I don't want to look stupid, you know, I don't want to, you know, so, and I think you're right. I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah, because didn't that woman, the grand jury for Fulton County, she came out, didn't they say that there was some Trumpers in there?
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
was that the woman that was really weird?
Yeah, wasn't
Yeah.
she? But
Yeah,
is she
there
the
was
one that
one, it
said
was
it,
like,
or
"What
was
are
it
you
someone?
doing?"
I
Yeah.
know. See,
She was
was
almost like, a lot
definitely,
of people are like, "This might screw up the case for," but they're like, "Well, how's it gonna screw up the case? The grand jury already made their decision. It's over with."
and
So,
they can talk. Like
yeah.
they're allowed in Georgia to talk, which was a shock to me. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, quite frankly, if I'm on the
she
grand
was
jury,
right.
I wanna stay far away from the public as possible after that,
But
but
look how right she was.
she
Because
was 100% right.
she was like, you're gonna know some of these people, you may not know.
Yep.
Some big people that you're gonna know. And she said it without saying them names.
Yeah.
Wow, she was on it.
Yep, she
She knew.
certainly was.
Yeah.
Now, because we do the show on Tuesday, we had a debate last Wednesday. So
Oh,
pretty much everything that could be said about the debate has already been said. So we could touch on it for a few minutes
let's do it.
and get your thoughts. Do you have any particular thoughts? And again, I'm sure we'll have to bring up Vivek Ramaswamy because of this. But again, I have zero interest from this point on really talking about him and giving any attention to him whatsoever, whether we have however many viewers that we get. It doesn't, I've kind of discovered now that he's a clown and he's not serious. But anyway, what were your thoughts? We talked about winners, we talked about losers, you know, what were you thinking while watching it?
So when I first started watching it, I started getting sick to my stomach because I
Me
was watching
too.
the video in the beginning, and then a woman singing the national anthem that thought she was Whitney Houston. I was just like,
And I'm sorry not to come. I'm gonna let you
no, go
finish
ahead.
that. I love the national anthem. I think it's a prideful song. And I
Yeah.
think when you're amongst a lot of people and you're singing it, there is a great feeling about it. But I don't care. Those people, when they play the national anthem before that and they televise it, it's theater. That's exactly what that is.
To me too. I was just like,
Yeah.
so I like shut it off for a minute, just change the channel. Then I'm like, just do it. Let's do it. Let's
Hmm.
watch it.
Yeah.
And I switched back, and that's when they were talking about the, Democrats want abortion at 40 weeks, and just
Right.
the lies and the lies. I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to stomach this. And that's the problem with watching the Republican debate. They just lie. So it's hard to go through it because it's just not even like, so whatever the case is, that was that. So
And by the way, Lana, when you have it on Fox News, when they're not going to really push back on a lot of the answers, they kind of let them lie. There was a little pushback here and there, but for the most part,
right. It got good, and you just asked the question, and I didn't answer the question. The highlight for me, and probably for mostly everyone, was when not to talk about Vivek, but this is Vivek, and he had Pence here, and he had Nikki here, and Pence was like, they were talking about foreign policy, and Pence was like, this isn't an on-the-job training. We don't need any rookies. And Nikki going, what did she say? Oh, you don't know anything about foreign policy, and it shows. So that's the highlight. And then it went, wah, 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 wah.
yeah.
If Trump is convicted, who here would vote for them? Everyone's like,
disgusting. Well, it was even more disgusting as you saw this, then another one, then another one, and Ron DeSantis looking around. Okay, I guess they're doing it, so I guess I have to too.
Oh yeah, Ron was there, wasn't he? Like,
well, that was one of my things, is that in the beginning it looked like Ron DeSantis was doing the pointing, and he was presidential, and he's going to be the Ron DeSantis that got him here, the reason why people in Florida love him so much. And then you're right, the second half of it was like people forgot about him, and they started paying attention to this idiot Vivek Ramaswamy, and it was almost like he was just looking around going, I don't know if he was thinking, why are they not talking to me? Or I'm glad they're not talking to me. I got the sense almost like, I'm glad, fuck it. Get me out of this.
Until somebody said something about education. I think Vivek said demolishing education. And then that was Ron DeSantis, like, got real, he was happy. Oh yeah, education. You see what Florida is doing with education. Indoctrinating your kids. We're sending woke to the graveyard. Like, he was just so happy to be like radical left, woke, CRT. Like, he was just all of the things. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was almost like he almost was sitting there like, okay, when are they going to talk about my stuff? And then he heard, he's like, oh shit, here we go. All right, this is me. All right, let's go.
Exactly. When are they going to talk about what I'm proficient in? Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm not sure, based on what you said earlier too, because I have the same thoughts. I'm not sure if a second debate is something I'm going to be interested in watching. Maybe I can just handle the clips or whatever it is. But because it seems like it's going to be about the same kind of nonsense, that I think Fox Business is the next host of it. Again, I whether you're Republican, Democrat, none of these debates should be held by any news organization that seems to have a bias towards the people who are up on the stage. So because to me, what does that get for you? It doesn't tell you, other than, we're basically just making this a big commercial for the Republican candidates, and we're not making it, why are they important for the American people? And again, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure I heard of any major policies by the Republicans that would help the American people, other than what they think would be like early term abortions.
No healthcare,
nothing.
No lowering the cost of your medicine, like the Biden administration is doing right now. They didn't talk about Social Security that they're trying to cut. They're not talking about, they didn't talk about like making tuition free. They talked about not indoctrinating your children.
Right.
Like, why is that so important? And the cost of tuition in your state or just in general, like, what's wrong with people?
Well, because on that side, college is the enemy, because college means further education. And the more you're educated, more likely you're not going to vote for me. So even though all those people up there went to Yale, Princeton, Harvard, they went to the top of all of the top colleges, and now they're preaching college is stupid.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying you have to go to college, and I'm not saying, I
Right.
mean, I know plenty of successful people who've never stepped foot in
Right.
college.
College doesn't make you smart. That's obvious because we see it on that stage. And they
Yes.
went to Ivy Leagues and they're a bunch of fucking idiots. So,
Correct.
right. So that college does not make you smart. You know, when we talk about undereducated, we're not talking about because you didn't go to college. We're talking about you don't have critical thinking. It's like-
Correct. That's what it is. And, you know, that's another thing when you see the attacks on people from Twitter and stuff, is that it's my side that doesn't have the critical thinking, that we don't step back and go, well, why are they, you know, why aren't they, or why are they so angry about government? Why are they so angry about, you know, Black people and all this stuff? And I, you know, again, it's, when I alluded to this earlier, I used to listen to conservative radio every single day, and I would get a sense a little bit more of where they were coming from. And I, for the most part, still didn't agree with everything they came from, but at least at some point they would make some points and be like, okay, I can see that at least. Now it's a clown show to where I just,
Right.
what am I going to do now at this point? There's nothing to give into anymore. And somebody would say, well, you don't listen to it anymore. So yeah, well, no, I don't, because I've done it. I've listened to it. I have a large sample size of exactly what they were saying. And then it turned into this show that just does not appeal to me as somebody that I at least feel have some sort of intellect.
Right. Right. No, you're absolutely right. Who's watching that anymore? It's like, you know, you watch Fox, you'll see Black people arrested, but Chicago, blah blah blah, but Baltimore. They're yelling at each other about who the fuck knows what. They're not talking about government and government roles anymore. It's Hunter Biden and his laptop.
Right.
It's Hunter Biden's dick pictures. Like,
Mhm.
it's just they probably talking about Hillary still. Like, it's just so
They talk
fell
about
off
Hillary all the time.
yeah, Biden fell off of his bike. Like, they're not talking about news. It's the Ukrainian president is on the take. Like, it's just all of the
Yeah. And it's having on the same guy that already was testifying, this Devin, whatever his name,
right.
I can't remember. Now, apparently he's coming out on Fox News in free flow interviews.
Oh
and
my
he's
god, they're
saying,
probably paying him. Like,
well,
why is he there?
even if they're not, I mean, let's say he's coming on, he will say things again. It's all innuendo to make it look like we can continue this in the news. And basically what they're trying to do at this point is they're trying to confuse some people, because we already know who's not voting for Joe Biden. We already know. So what they're doing is trying to confuse people into either maybe the who's the gentleman's name that's running for the other party?
No labels.
No,
Party.
not no labels. It's not the Green Party or and you know, I like him too, but he's the one who owes child support, 500,000 bees telling rich people.
I don't like
Dr. Cornel West. Cornel West. Yeah. So, you know, or the Robert Kennedy Jr.'s you should look at, and not Biden, because he's just as corrupt as Donald Trump is. Or they're not even saying that. They're just saying, look, if you don't like corruption, then you need to get rid of all these guys and start fresh and make people think it, you know, that's maybe the route we should take. And I can't see why. I don't know why.
I don't know why. I kind of think that, you know, you probably agree. The Republicans have got who they're going to get. There's no minds are going to be changed. Whoever's voting for Trump is going to vote for Trump. If it's not Trump, they're not going to vote for DeSantis. Maybe some will, but not a lot. But I think that will balance out because some independents will move over to DeSantis. But I think it's going to even it out anyway for what he lost with Trump voters. All of the independents are not going to vote for Ron DeSantis because independents are pretty smart voters. And they are for Roe and sensible gun control. And they're sitting back watching Congress, like the rest of us are watching Congress do absolutely nothing. Like they. And this is the thing that bothers me. It probably bothers you. Remember when they were running for president, and they were asking people if they were going to vote for Biden or if they were going to vote for Donald Trump. And everybody was like, my kitchen table issues, my kitchen table issues. I need something different because my kitchen table issues are important.
Yep.
Republicans have yet to talk about voted against extra production of baby formula when we were down. They voted against that. They voted against like pumping more oil or whatever the hell was the solution, but they were trying to vote. They voted against it. Like those are your kitchen table issues, but like they forget about it, and then they just Americans just we talk about kids have a short attention span. Oh God, this is adults are just they forget.
Yeah, Lana, they don't even have a kitchen table in their house. They're basically wanting their voters to eat off the fucking floor. That's what they want. There is no kitchen table. They don't even own one.
That's true.
And that's what it is. The Democrats, at least, almost every issue is a kitchen table issue.
Every single issue.
Yeah, and it's
talk
just
about
amazing. And again, that's where people are just trying to use language because they don't want to sound dumb. They don't want to sound like they're not part of the scheme. And I appreciate that, at least. And I appreciate that you want to be, but it is difficult as somebody. And again, I think you would say the same thing about yourself. I would say the same thing about myself. I don't know everything about everything, but when you really look into what is good for your family, what is good for you, what is good for your friends' family. The Democrats are the only ones that are working on these solutions. Are they going to get everything done? No. But are you going to go, because they can't get everything done, then I'm just going to look at this other party that's just going to say, fuck you to everybody? I just don't get it.
No policy. Like, no, that, and I thought about that today. I'm like, you know what? When a troll comes on my timeline and says something ridiculous, I'm going to say, can you just name one policy that Republicans are for that will help Americans?
Yeah.
Name one, because I don't know any that they're talking about.
Well, I think it's they'll keep transgender girls from playing in boy sport, or transgender boys playing in girls sports.
Right. And how does that help Americans? Like, does that give you a raise? Does that help with the cost of living?
Oh, I think I know. It'll certainly help the 4 people that, that it's really happening to.
Right.
But, outside of that, you're right. It's just, they don't, their responses are crazy. Another one that I like to ask is just, do me a favor. And I even tell them, I guarantee you won't answer the question, but I'm going to give you even 3 opportunities to answer. Can you just tell me 5 of the sources of where you get your news daily? Because I promise you, I could tell you mine.
Right.
But I ask, can you just give me 5 sources? Right. And they either will never answer the question, or they're going to say things like the BBC, or, and I'm just like, dude, you don't get your fucking news.
You sure don't.
From the BBC. Get the fuck out of here. Or Reuters. Reuters. PBS. Yeah.
There was one guy on there. This video was on Twitter or whatever, X, whatever it's called. And the man was interviewing the guy. And he was like, who won the whatever 2020 election? And the guy's like, Donald Trump won the election because he won. It was stolen from him, right? And just all this stuff. And the guy's like, okay, well, how do you know? He's like, because it just was. It just was. What's the proof that you have? Have you seen the proof?
No.
It just was. These guys can tell you.
Right. Come over here, guys. Help me out, because I have no fucking idea how to answer this question.
He just started looking stupid. And then, And then before he said, come on, guys, he's like, take that mic and shove it where the sun doesn't shine. He got so pissed he had to start threatening him. And that's what they do.
Yeah. When we talk about too, where you're just like, how do you vote for this guy? How do you, I don't know if you saw a tweet that or a truth, whatever it is that he calls it, recently, that he wanted to let somebody know that rumor has it about something, but the first word was rumor, and he spelled it ROOMER. That is the former president of the United States who spelled the word. And there is no, don't give me the spell check thing, because if I tried to spell rumor on my phone, I fucking guarantee you it would not come up ROOMER. That's the former president of the United States.
He said rumor.
And he spells stolen, by the way, every time he spells it. STOLLEN with 2 L's. I'm literally every time. In fact, you'll see on Twitter the word Stalin, STOLLEN, will be trending every day he does it.
And if he was writing about Stalin, he would put stolen.
Right, exactly. It's unbelievable. But again, Lana, we are an hour and 35 minutes.
Gosh,
We are just going.
That's
So
like a marathon.
it is a marathon. And again, I think we just get into a conversation that I feel like we could probably go on another 2 hours.
So much
But
politics, man.
it's just going to make, my job longer on splitting up the.
That is. Oh, you're right.
I like it though.
Sorry.
I don't mind. It's easy for and because, by the way, because of the hurricane coming through here tomorrow, we are closed. Our office is closed, so I'll be home tomorrow, and it's going to be pretty easy for me. But before we go,
I hope your bosses aren't watching. He's like, I'll be home tomorrow. No.
well, they already said our office is closing. So, and we have such a great boss. I mean, the great part about my job, and not to get into me, I feel like Donald Trump. We get to do pretty much anything we want. There's really no schedule. There's none of that,
Right.
kind of, as long as we're doing our job. I could work
Right.
from home every day if I wanted to. But
Right.
you and I talked about that before we got
Right.
on the show.
Right.
I'm not a fan of it. I don't like working from home.
Yeah.
So
I always so jealous of people who can just even the legal assistants at my job, they don't have to bill for their time. So they can get online for a minute or, do the social media, whatever. If I'm on there too long, again, like I told you, at the end of the day, I'm like, oh shit, I need to make up some time this weekend because there's a certain amount every month that I got to make it to. And you can't just be saying, oh yeah, bill for 7 hours and you didn't do any work for clients, because they're going to be asking you what you did. You got to write what you did.
Yeah. Well, you did tell me you loved your job too. So that's a good thing.
It.
So
I like working under pressure, as you can tell. So.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I'll shut up now.
I love when
NAACP says don't go to Florida. Those are my last words.
Yeah, that's right. That's another thing. And they sent that warning out, and there's a clear reason for it. So we'll wrap up the show, but before we do, I want to play one more clip of my girlfriend who I'm in love with. Jessica Tarlov is at it again.
Your future wife.
My future wife, at least my future online wife, which sounds Donald Trump pathetic.
Did you follow her?
You mean like online? Or
not stalking.
No, I'm not stalking Jennifer Tarlov. But she is. So if you're on Twitter, literally every day somebody posts a clip of her just shredding the people on the Five. And I want to play this clip. I don't even remember what it's about, but let's play it real quick. We'll talk about it and then we'll get out of here.
In 4 jurisdictions around this country by juries of regular Americans in New York, in D.C., in Atlanta, and in South Florida, where he calls home. This wasn't Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow sitting there. It was regular people who listened to the evidence that was brought before them. When you say that people are rallying behind him, his diehard base is, but the average American isn't. There's new polling out today. 62% think he committed a crime, including 67% of independents. 61% thinks that he must stand trial before the election. Why? Because you don't want to put someone in office who's going to jail. And 59% think that the DOJ is being fair. That shoots straight through the argument that this is a 2-tiered system of justice. If you don't like that Joe Biden is fundraising off of it, Donald Trump is doing the same thing. He's having his moment. Mitch McConnell even, remember, he fundraised off Cocaine Mitch.
So that's something that I meant to play earlier because we were basically alluding to that, of what she was saying. And again, there's just nothing more satisfying than watching her go over facts while they all have to sit there.
They do. They had to sit there, and you can see the drunks. Her shoes. She can't stop moving her feet because she wants to.
And the other ones are just kind of looking down, like, when is she gonna shut the fuck up? I can't stand her, And
what do you think is going through their heads, right? Like, is it because she's saying such precise facts that you can look up? So in their head, are the facts just going in one ear and out the other ear? Are they like, yeah, we fucking know this, but we don't give a fuck. We're just saying what we need to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's giving them credible information and they still fight against it, even though they know someone's telling them facts.
Yeah, and I think we've seen clips with her before, and they've tried to, and every one of the responses usually are like, "What? That doesn't even make sense." Your response, and I think, that's really what it comes down to. And I always think about the dynamic of them off the air because it's like, do they talk and are they friends, together and then they get on camera and they do their thing, or are they just like disgusted with her? She's disgusted with them. They sits down when it's time to go. I would assume you have to find a way to be friendly. But anyway, that's my girl JT. And
she's cute too.
Yeah, I definitely like her. So, but Lana, once again, this is another record-breaking time on our show, 1 hour and 41 minutes.
Wow.
I'm going to break up the clips. I'm going to send them to you tomorrow so you can send them out to your followers as well. And do you have anything you'd like to say before we go?
Yes. Welcome to the Black and White Show with Brian Rundo and Lana Quest. Please
welcome,
share, and subscribe.
I put up the little bubble. I put it on the screen. I don't know if that we didn't say it this time, right?
No, we didn't even say the show. It's just like, you can read it somewhere. We just pop in and start talking about health, but it's all good.
Well, this is what I was told when you watch the videos. Get into the crux of it and then, give them what they want and then ask for it.
You know what? I love it. It's a long weekend, everyone. Getting some rest.
We're going to get some rest. We hear my fellow Floridians when you're hopefully if you watch this, stay safe. Obviously we hope it just kind of blows through, gets out of here, and then obviously wait for the next one to come. So, of course, thank you, Lana, again. And we will see everybody again next Tuesday. Please join Lana on Thursday night on her show live at 8:00 for the Quest Show. In fact, if you look below, a link to her show is on there, and links to both of our Twitters, even X, whatever, is on there, and you can follow that. And also, too, I'm going to download the show as an audio and play it as a podcast on the Black and White podcast with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest. So we hope we can join us again next Tuesday. Lana, thank you very much. And I will talk to you next week.
Be safe out there.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye. Night.